Hi, everyone. We have a special guest here today. This was I'm very happy that at fairly short notice, Sven managed to join us. He's one of the main keynote speakers at this conference. He's Senior Vice President, Chief Marketing and Solutions Officer for SAP Industries CX, Customer Experience for the global SAP organization. He's managed to spend a little bit of time with us before the next speaker comes on. So Sven, thanks very much for coming here. It's lovely to have people from Germany here, from the head office, from SAP side, and we have a lovely crowd of people here, and we love to get some thoughts from you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. How are you guys doing? I'm just a warm-up for the next session. So first of all, this is actually a session I usually like. And thanks to Amanda, I need to single you out. When she told me Saturday that you guys are coming, I said, that's exactly what we need to do. We need to start to engage, because what did you know about SAP a year ago? What did you know before you came to this conference? I don't want to speak about me, and by the way, for the guy or the girl who has the first question, I buy her or him a coffee. Is that fine? How are you feeling so far? Did you have some good sessions? Did you learn something? I went not in school. So, yeah, my title is pretty long, but that's not the topic. I've been around for a while, usually you can look that up in LinkedIn and feel free to follow. It was a great pleasure for me to come here to the user group, and you see actually the board here at the board, because I've been here last time, was it 17 or 19? Yeah, and that has been too much time. And I think whatever you know about SAP, it's really about that network. And that network and that collaboration we create here today, and I even know now the South African name with Jota, it is very important. And that is usually what I do for my living. I try to connect what is happening in the market to what is happening at customers and what's happening at partners with engineering. So I spent my last 7 years in the engine room, where people have been coding great software, I think. But it's not only about SAP. It's also about all that is around us. The technology, the partners, the way how customers also need to transform. And now in my current state of a career, I'm looking at all industries at SAP. And that's, of course, something which I personally very much love, but has a lot of knowledge that I gained over the years. And the biggest knowledge I gained always, is going to customers, see where the reality is. Because we can think about business cases, we can think about business process, we can think about IT as much as we want. The rubber hits the road when clients really use it. And then it gets interesting. And that part of what I'm doing now, because all industries means everywhere in the globe, every customer SAP has, and we only have 443,000. So theoretically, I can learn from all of them. And then we are 105,000 people at SAP, but then the ecosystem latest count is more than 7 million people in the world who do their living based on what we do. And that actually gets me excited when I go into my office in the morning, no matter where it is, sometimes too often in an airplane. But when I go in there, I get goosebumps. Because we do run 75% of the worldwide gross domestic product, GDP. You're from the university, you should know what it is, right? It's not chat GDP. I'll come to that in a second. So to run that, there is an obligation, and that is what I feel in events like this. That is what I feel when I see the warm welcome, and also thanks to the board of AFSAC, because they make such events happen, where we also get some very pointed feedback. What can we do better? Where do we improve? And that's actually also part of my job. In the industry, you would call that product management. So something between what the market wants. Now I need to get rid of my coffee to show what I mean. This is what the market wants. This is the resources I have. And you know when I do a good job? If I keep both equally unhappy. That means we need to decide every day where do we put the emphasis, because the opportunities are endless. And this is what we do at SAP, sometimes better, sometimes there's room for improvement, but we can only do that if we engage with clients very early. What you need to have, though, is a point of view. Because we also in the history developed solutions where it's basically a toolbox where you can run everything in your company. And the question is who you ask. And then you solve exactly that problem, and you solve it well, and maybe it helps others, but maybe it's very specific. And we don't have that luxury in the world anymore. We can't craft every business process for just one customer, one idea, one industry. And that's what I talked also about in the keynote, which makes me even more excited. What can we use in whatever industry when we invent it once? And no matter where you're going to end up, hopefully a lot of you at SAP, but maybe also in the ecosystem, which is equally important, because you then take a lot of that and take it forward. A lot of partners develop on top of our technology, and they do it perfectly right. And that is very important as well, how we interact, how we exchange. Now, in my capacity now, I report to the board at SAP, which is not fun, if I want to share that, because we have a great board. How should I say different? Maybe it's recorded even. Don't tweet it. But it is also 7 individual areas and personalities, which makes that great as well. Now, I'm situated in a board area called Marketing and Solution Management. Yes, we also have hardcore marketing, but I'm not a hardcore marketeer. I like that I have great, passionate people for that. But product marketing is something I like, because it's about what I learn here, take that out and amplify it. Bring that to the world to say, here's something great that is happening. Here's something new happening. Here's a customer or partner doing something, and how can we amplify that? And solution management or product management work, that is actually wrestling with engineering. What should be the next thing that we do? Because the market wants this, we can deliver this. So it's a lot of fun, but it's also rewarding. And you see that. And if I go to my last 7 years, there's no customer in this room who is thinking about a product I've been the luxury to be part of. It's called S4. If you don't know what a S stands for, take Sven. That's fine. The 7 years there's enough Sven in there. But it's actually running those companies. And that's, again, where I come back to. Now, a short one, and I'm waiting for the first one. You can interrupt him anytime. Usually it doesn't work, but it's not because of a shy crowd, right? You're not a shy crowd. Can ask me anytime. Let me talk a little bit about AI in a minute. Who is using ChatGPT? Come on. Okay, the one who's not using, why? No, just kidding. I used to come, and there's a little bit of an anecdote, when I go out to dinner parties with my wife, and people realize I'm from SAP, suddenly the mood gets mellow. And I tell you why. They don't know what we do. They only heard bad stories. They say we're not cheap and complex and whatever, but they don't know what we do as innovation. So maybe I did a bad job in marketing. But meanwhile, everyone knows this AI thing because we use it ourselves. And when I explain how a business process can be improved with that technology, they can relate to it. An 82-year-old father of a colleague of mine at the Sunday breakfast said, I'm going to go fishing, and I asked ChatGPT what bite for what fish in what lake. That tells me that there is a technology up there which is anonymous, accepted, everyone is interested, and that's what you guys also will lever. And I tell you why. Because all the knowledge that I gained with my 30-ish years, so I lost a lot of hair at SAP, with those whole years, a lot of that knowledge you're going to start with. And that's, I think, you guys are fortunate. And the democratization of all that knowledge and data, and I'm not old enough that I can speak about it because no one's going to fire me, but you guys are going to start on a complete different level. So take that motivation with you. Think about what you learn here, because a lot of that knowledge is going to be in those tools already ready, waiting for you. Still, you need somehow the old dudes like me. Or him, if I may say. Because we need then to balance. First question, brave person. Sorry, can you speak up a little bit? Absolutely. We are using it today already. And it will be used in many organizations. Either 2 reasons, because you bring it in there, not tell anyone. or the company has an idea how to leverage that. So I more talk about generative AI, so generative artificial intelligence, which is the basis. And the question is how you train those learning models. Now, in our business, it is very important that, and Uwe said it, my colleague at the stage earlier, that you don't use every data for that. Why? Because maybe it's your company data. So you want the gated version still. The challenge will be, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to solve it, how you balance now all this official public information, information from the market with the company part of the data. So you ask the system about, hey, what is my margin on this product in that region? And the system not only spits out, based on the data, which is in SAP, what is the margin of that product in that region, but compares it without you even asking it. Takes external data, benchmark data. And that's going to be the interesting one, how technology used internally, also with external data, are going to figure out. That's the problem to solve, not the base technology. What is also underestimated in generative AI are those two things, security and cost. Generative AI is one of the most costly technology in the world. Why? Because that compute power, what you need also to train that, doesn't come for free. When that 82-year-old guy asks, what is the bite for the fish? Someone actually trained that model before, what is the bite for the fish? That's cheap, that's easy. And that is something which makes it actually addictive. But put it in business terms, then you trust that outcome of what you ask that system. This is where the rubber hits the road, because business decision will be made on those answers. And it's the same, right? Meanwhile, I can tell you with my boys, that thing here, that really changed a lot. Attention span, what you believe, what you don't believe in, you know what. I think generative AI has more potential than this device did in the last years. I don't have a glass ball, I'm not a predictive guy, but that's how I feel. Does that answer your question? Oh, yes. Yeah. So the question was, I repeated for the back of the room, and that also tells me if I got it right. So if we have so much trust in the technology, what is the human aspect, and how do you also get people or hire people that then maybe do that checks and balances? Absolutely. Now, the first question is, who do we hire? Do we hire people who actually leverage their technology just for sake of technology, or get that business acumen also to rate it? And when I hire, and just can't speak for my organization, it's a very small one in compared to what is happening out there in the world, but the thousands of people that I look into, I hire young people and put them together with senior people. We need to learn from each other. The question is, where does the control come from? I don't think it will come from regulation. Maybe in some areas that's pretty clever. I have industries who have a severe impact into mankind, from defense to actually pharma to whatever. So we should be careful what we use there. It's the combination at that sense. What I don't think is going to happen that we just hire AIs. We need the personal view into that. But again, I think the democratization, where you can start in your career, you guys need to stop me, right, if time is over. So the level you start, I'm actually very happy for you guys, as I am for my kids. And I only teach them one thing. You either could be good in something with M, either mathematics or Mandarin. Good there, good in mathematics. Because that's the difference if you sit in front of the algorithm or behind. That's going to make the difference. And not everyone needs to understand high mathematics, but how algorithms are fed, are constructed, and how to judge the outcome. That's going to make a business leader definitely to listen.
Maybe one more question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a very interesting winning method where you said the client is here, the resources are here, and you have to keep both of them unhappy. Can you please elaborate more on that?
Yeah. So what is very quickly, what is the job of a product manager? You have a product that you want to construct. You need to understand why you're doing it for, what is the value you get out of it, and can you build it on the resources you have been given, right? If someone has unlimited money or resources, you can do everything. Then everyone can do it. The product manager role really is one where you need to place your bets right. No matter what the business case is, there's always constraint of resources. And in our world, at the SAP world, the constraint is mostly that there's a great idea and suddenly thousands and millions of people want to have it. So you construct it, maybe a startup does it, and they have the first 10 customers, they have their region, suddenly they scale and have a problem. We always have that scaling problem. Now, when I said, this is demand, this is what you have been given, keeping both equally unhappy makes better decisions. Because you can't make both happy. If you start with that to think, oh, that's the demand I'm catering forwards, you burn your people. If you actually under-deliver because the people are just idling around and playing chess online or whatever, that doesn't help either. So keep the balance. And unhappy, of course, is a metaphor for hard decisions, for discussions, for dialogue, for fighting for the resources. But yeah, it is a quote from a very admirable product manager, was once my mentor. And if you want to take one thing out, go out, chase good mentors, because there's a lot of knowledge out there, but you guys going to rock the world, I'm pretty sure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, Sven. That was really inspiring. Appreciate your time, and thanks for those words.
Thank you. Have fun. Warmed it up for you. Thanks, guys. See you next time. We're already working for it.
Just so that you all know, I'm Amanda Gibbs, the General Manager at the African SAP User Group. And a huge welcome to every one of you. I just wanted to say, do you know that you can actually belong to the user group for nothing, for free? With your student number, please join us, and you can attend the sessions and be more involved and get to know the business world. So please do that, and welcome to PwC and to Nadia for, Devet. So here we go. I don't know if you want to do the introduction. Okay.
Thank you, Amanda. Right. Good day, everyone. Sven, he warmed up the room. The PwC team is very excited to be with you this afternoon. Myself, Lucky, and Tlotlo, we're actually going to share with you our personal journeys in SAP. You've heard Sven also say about the endless opportunities, but obviously this is an SAP conference, and the three of us, our hearts all beat SAP. Also, if we run out of time for questions, please pop into our booth in the exhibition hall. We'd love you to enter our competition and maybe undertake a SAP BTP mission. So there's some prizes to be won there, so please make a turn. So it's my privilege this afternoon to share my personal journey. And our topic is my future as an SAP solver. All right, we've been through that. I'm going to actually share my whole life story with you. Yeah, but I'll sketch my path over about 30 years, and I hope that you find it worthwhile to listen to. So SAP and I, we actually share a birth here. We both celebrate 1972. And in 1984, starting at the left, I was 12 years old. And at that stage, the Autobank machine had just launched in South Africa. Being 12, I didn't have any money of my own, so I don't remember the first day that I actually got to use a machine. But then computers became sort of more discussed in the home. And at that stage, my dream, so anything with a cloud was my dream or my aspiration, was to be a data capturer. Okay, so that was 1984. Then in high school, I remember my career aspirations changed quite a lot. a game ranger, a pathologist. Uh, there are a few I can't mention. But nevertheless, I got accepted into the University of Cape Town, so I'm from Cape Town. I've got a particular shine coming from Cape Town, and I enrolled for a Bachelor of Commerce. So in those years, you know, it was a BCom or doctor or lawyer or teacher. Those were really the careers that you heard about. Then I actually majored in economics. There was a particular book that had a big impact on me called Uprooting Poverty. It was co-authored by Francis Wilson and Mampela Rampele. And my dream at that stage was to be an economist for the South African Reserve Bank. Okay, so we went from data capturer to economist and everything else that goes with that. And then in 1994, I joined UCT as a recruit from the commerce faculty. At that stage, I think it had to do with wanting to get married and wanting to earn a salary. I actually remember with my first paycheck, or this is what I told myself, with my first paycheck, I'm going to buy a leather jacket. But when I got the money, I realized, no, a leather jacket is not worth it. So I got that a lot later. Okay, so then I was in UCT, and then the top 1997. That was a game changer here for me. The University of Cape Town implemented SAP. So they were one of the first higher education institutions to select SAP software. And actually around 1997, many of the companies in South Africa, there was a boom around ERPs in South Africa at that time, and that's how I got started. Then I had an opportunity to go on a SAP Academy in 1999, and that's my exposure. It was largely finance, being a finance background, and then the world of work. In 2002, I then joined an FMCG company because I wanted experience outside of the university, and again in 2004. And throughout that time, I was a SAP finance analyst, then I was a business analyst, a system analyst. You know how things progress, a team leader, portfolio manager, but all of that with SAP as the underlying technology. So it was a great space. I had lots of opportunities. While I was working, I did a postgrad, then I did honors. I did another certification in financials. In 2018, I then certified in S4HANA. I was privileged to go to 3 conferences in Las Vegas. Besides the plane trip, it was something amazing. And then, of course, I've also been privileged to visit SAP in Waldorf, which is something unique. Oh, my other career was a speech therapist, doing a lot of talking. Let's just see where we are. All right. Then in 2020, okay, somewhere here. So there's me. I'm an SAP fan. I joined PwC, and we delivered an S4HANA program out of Cape Town for a financial services company there. And at that stage, I had a very varied role. Based on my experience, I would liaise with the group technology team around invoice automation options, or the HR integration team, hypercare support, deployment manager for the first release. So I think one of the key messages, it's not a straight line, it's not a predefined path. However, you need to keep going forward. And then COVID, the Great Resignation, all of those things. And in 2022, I opted to take a role called SAP Alliance Driver. in PwC. And that for me is actually where the love of people and technology come together. So if I look back and I say 1994, 12-year-old me, there was no such career as an SAP Alliance driver, and that's my curvy way to where we are today. So maybe just for your information, what does an Alliance driver do? The liaison between PwC, I'm going to take my notes with me, between PwC and SAP. I encourage organized training and certification. We make sure that we maintain the requirements to keep PwC as a platinum partner, setting up meetings, arranging marketing events. So I had a very busy lead up to Sapilo. Please come visit our booth to make all of that worthwhile. But no 2 days are the same. But if I try and sum up what is our objective, what's the objective of the PwC SAP practice team? It's really to help clients solve their problems, to use technology supplied by SAP. And then at the bottom, if it is visible, you would have noticed that as my career aspirations evolved, so did SAP. From a SAP R2 to R3, then the e-business era, digital economy, and now we're squarely in the intelligent enterprise phase, where it's all about cloud, business technology platform. Okay. And I guess this conference is a testament to that evolution by SAP. So to wrap up, being exposed to SAP in 1997 changed my career trajectory from accounts and budgets and actuals and reporting to an exciting space that is still relevant in today's world. So my personal tips to become successful in SAP when there's so much to know, I think you'll hear from Lucky and Totlo as well. In my opinion, it comes down to attitude, professionalism, and relationships. So maintaining your technical knowledge, that goes without saying. But if you have an attitude of lifelong learning, you're off to a great start. So finally, I hope you'll mark today's date with your career aspirations, and in 20, 30, 40 years' time, you can look back at a very rich career involving SAP, and hopefully also that you've had many opportunities as an SAP solver. I'm going to hand over to Lucky.
I don't know how to use this. I'm going to skip that. But I'm just going to give a brief summary of who I am. So my name is Lucky Gaokgorwe. I have over 10 years of experience within the SAP space. And I just want to give you a brief summary of how I got into SAP, right? It's a funny story. So in 2011, 2010 actually, I was doing second year. And I remember I had a course, I studied IT, which was called Information Systems. And in there, we were doing stuff like ERP processes, and they mentioned Oracle and SAP are one of the ERP or the leading ERPs out there, right? And then my first interview when I was doing third year was with a company that's not doing too well these days, but it was for a technical role where we had to do networking and stuff like that. So I went through the interview, very successful. I could answer all the questions. And I remember the last question was, so Lucky, do you know what SAP is? You know, I instantly froze. I'm like, it's an ERP system, you know. Like, oh, okay. So do you know how HR works? HR? Yes, like human resources. Can you process a payroll? I'm like, no, I'm an IT guy. It's like, okay, so you don't know SAP? I'm like, no, I don't. So ever since that day, I've had a keen interest into what SAP really is, right? And as fate might have it, a few months later, I got a call from a utilities company who's keeping the lights on, or supposed to be. Um, and then I got an interview as a SAP junior business analyst, right? I went through it and I got it, and that's where my journey started, basically. So I started off as I'm still a functional consultant. But today, what brings me here is just to talk about what a SAP functional consultant is. And I'm sure most of you have heard the term being tossed around, but I just want to get into it and explain what it is, okay? So in SAP ecosystem, we have a SAP technical consultant as well as a SAP functional consultant. So the technical guys would usually look at programming, which we call them ABAPers, because they program in ABAP code. And we would have your basis guys. Now your basis guys would look at your infrastructure, your integrations, make sure that the batch monitoring jobs are running, and stuff like that, right? And then your functional guys would usually look at your modules in the ECC days, like your finance, procurement, sales, and all that, as well as your business processes, right? But being a functional consultant, it's all about problem solving. You are a facilitator for change. And I think Sven and Karen have mentioned it, where you sit with business and you're actually just in between. There's business and then there's technology. And then you have to bring those two worlds together, right? But then you do that in an innovative way through the use of the SAP system or software. It is also just important to note that within the SAP ecosystem, we have what we call SAP partners, and then we have SAP customers. I'm just going to briefly explain that. With your customers, that would be companies that are using SAP as their ERP system to carry out their day-to-day activities, right? And then as a partner like PwC, we would go to clients or companies and help them solve problems and help them implement solutions, help them come up with, sometimes we even outsource our resources just to help them get to a better place or to resolve the requirements. But being a SAP functional is not just about your technical skills. It also requires your soft skills, and that's where your career actually grows. You need to be a keen listener. You need to be able to talk or communicate. You need to be a problem solver, right? And I just want to pause at that. I'll just flight my second slide here. Please don't look intimidated by this. This is a very basic diagram. I tried to make it as basic as I could. This was for a project that we implemented at one of the financial services company in Joburg, where we were implementing this blue block called SAP Financial Product Subledger. How many of you know that? SAP FPSL? Okay. So SAP FPSL is a subledger that was designed mainly because of a regulatory requirement. So there was a requirement within the insurance industry where they came up with a new IFRS standard called IFRS 17 to report at that level. So SAP released SAP FPSL to meet that requirement. I hope that makes sense. But within the SAP ecosystem, as you go from SAP functional, you can become an alliance driver, but most people would rather go become SAP solution architects. So a solution architect would actually come up with a conceptual design like this. And again, to just show you how important it is to have your soft skills, they would have to sit with business, understand the requirements, understand who is involved in every part of the process, and then map down this conceptual design. So on this project, what we did was that we were taking source system data, put them in a data lake, and then make sure that the actuarial system post into the data lake, and then we enhance the data and finally put it to your FPSL. And then once it's in your FPSL, we do calculations and fancy stuff, and then we post it into your SAP GL. Now it just brings me back to how important collaboration is when it comes to a SAP functional consultant. Collaboration is actually the heart of this role. You will also have to work closely with cross-functional consultants, project managers, as well as developers to come up with a solution for your client. There is a term that says the world is your oyster, and I think it's fitting when it comes to a SAP career. You can take your skills anywhere in this world. You are not obliged to just sit in one country. You can travel the world, like Karen experienced. I got to experience to also go to Germany and experience SAP at the headquarters. And I can attest that many people that I've crossed paths with have traveled the world and applied those same skills that they have learned at home. With COVID-19, it's even easier as we can actually work remotely. So it's important for each and every one of you to make sure that you grab the opportunity, if you have the opportunity, to get into a SAP career with both hands. I just want to leave you with something, right? And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The path requires dedication. It requires perseverance.